Hi Virgo, welcome to your November 2018 love reading. It's Serena here, shuffling the cards. It's funny, I was just thinking of that card because I got that card for Aquarius, and I had a very strong feeling when I got that card for Aquarius. For this is the final card, and let me just put one more. Let me just, okay. Just for clarity's sake. The heart of the matter is the Temperance card, and there may be some kind of an issue. I know what the Temperance represents in the tarot, and I can't wait to read what the Holistic Tarot, which is a massive book that I just checked out from the library, and I might buy that book soon because it's a good reference. I'd like to see what that book says. If I had it handy, I would look at it right now. I know that the Temperance card is about the balance between spirit and the world in terms of, you know, not being too extreme in either direction. So if you are somebody who's very spiritual, you don't want to be spacey, you want to be grounded. If you're somebody who is an earth sign, hello, Virgo, you don't want to be too earthbound. You want to have that spiritual perspective in life so that you're not just seeing everything as a three-dimensional reality. Because, yeah, I mean, your bank account and all that stuff, that's great, but that only has limited importance in your life. And you are a spiritual being having a human experience, right? So, but I see we're supposed to like put our own stamp on each card too. By the way, the Temperance card connects with Sagittarius, so there could be a link between you and a Sagittarius individual. But to me, I also think of sobriety, temperance. I mean, the Temperance Society was about kind of pushing sobriety in America in the late 1800s. So there could be some of you who are dealing with somebody else's problem. And in the base of the reading, the Hierophant, which connects to Taurus, but is a card of marriage and that kind of societal, the tradition. You may stay with somebody because you feel like that's your duty, even if they have some sort of substance abuse problem. It can also be a situation where somebody who is a Taurus that comes into your life has given you a sense of groundedness after a bunch of craziness, because we have in the challenge position the Knight of Swords. So whether this is a fire sign or an air sign or a combination thereof, which this card represents, I don't know if it's connected to a specific sign, but it is, the Knight energy is fire. So Aries, Leo, Sag, and so there's your Sag again. Maybe it is a Sagittarius. And the Swords, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. So this type of person can be very blunt and maybe, you know, very opinionated and maybe insensitive. But I would add that because they're a knight, there might be some kind of chaotic elements to this person where they are not willing to go along with the program, and the program being in a committed relationship, being somebody who wants to stick around. And that may have just caused you a lot of stress. And yeah, maybe sometimes that person is who you're married to, and you feel that sense of, you know, wanting more balance in your life. Maybe the Temperance card is what you're aspiring to, not what you have right now. Or it can mean you've met somebody new that is an earth sign who is more your speed. And I don't mean it like, oh wow, they're boring or anything like that. I just mean that they're not creating chaos in your life, and that's a good thing. The higher message, which is more of the philosophical perspective, if you will, is the Queen of Wands. And this is a card that's associated with, there's another Sagittarius energy. But just in terms of what it could represent, I see Leo because of sunflower, but whatever, it's fire. And this card is supposed to, you know, especially for women, that sense of empowerment. And, you know, it's a card of a professional career type of woman, but somebody who is very confident in how she goes through life and has like a happy demeanor, all right? A sunny demeanor, if you will. And with Virgo, a lot of times Virgos are overly accommodating in their relationships. And, you know, it's kind of funny because I do have the moon in Virgo, and I know, like, it's almost like sometimes allowing nonsense, but then bitching about it at the same time. Well, complaining about things isn't solving the problem. So it's not that Virgo people just are completely unaware that there are problems in their relationship. Of course, they are more than aware of that, but they still sometimes will tolerate nonsense because Virgo is a mutable sign, and it's very adaptable. But, you know, there's a lot to be said about flexibility, because sometimes we are thrown curveballs in life. Sometimes you get married to somebody and they don't turn out to be who you thought they were, or maybe you grow and realize that you were accepting less than you deserve. Okay, so the basic principle here is self-empowerment, or feeling of confidence, a feeling of deserving more. When I see the queen or the king, I think of royalty, you know, obviously. And regardless of, you know, what sign it's connected to or anything like that, I think about treating ourselves like royalty. And does that seem kind of like a strange concept? When somebody is used to being treated in a negative way, it becomes very difficult for them to imagine deserving to be treated in the best way possible. And so they may not even consider that that is a deal breaker, that that's important to do. And I'm here to tell you, yes, it is. It's very important that you are treated with respect at all times, in all situations. And likewise, and well, I was going to say, and that only happens if you carry yourself as somebody who deserves better. You will attract better. I firmly believe that. And in the meantime, you won't be settling for less yourself, making that decision. For the more practical, on the ground situation happening, we have the Judgment card right now. And this is simply karma calling. And karma not being something ominous, it's just cause and effect. So it's like sowing and then reaping. And also, this is a card of rebirth. So there can be this feeling of even relief and release with the Judgment card. Of like, this is a turning point. This is a time for me to choose myself, choose self-love. And I believe that if I do that, I'm going to receive respect from others because I am respecting myself. This can also be connected to a marriage situation, seeking some kind of legal separation, divorce, maybe already happening. Again, you know, I'm not one of these people that gets very connected to timing. I look more for the themes than the actual dates. So, and especially since I'm recording this in the first week of October, and this is for November, it's very fluid, and this is a general reading anyhow. So for those people that this applies, this is more of an internal shift. Maybe kind of like being at this crossroads and like taking a certain path. And it's going to change everything as a result. For others, it can be almost like an ending of sorts where the action, you know, taking action and seeing the results may take years in the making, and it's finally here. An example would be if two people get married or move in together because of an external event like a pregnancy. And I witnessed this in terms of another couple that I knew, and I think that this is fairly common, where I knew that they were getting married because the woman had gotten pregnant, and I always wondered if they would stay together, because I feel a lot of times that when people come together because of a crisis, because of something that they're trying to right a misstep, if you will. And I don't believe that conceiving a child is a misstep, but you know what I mean, that they didn't expect to have to deal with. That it can create a sense of getting together for the wrong reasons, and that even if they have subsequent children and they ended up having, you know, more than that one child, and have a house, have that whole structure, that life, that lurking in the background is how they got together. And sure enough, they did not last as a couple, but they lasted like probably close to 20 years. So the judgment could be a long time coming. And it might not be that it's happening in November, but the point is getting the ball rolling in a sense. And knowing that it's a crossroads. Knowing that there are changes afoot. What is coming in is represented by the Queen of Cups. So here's another queen. We've got the Queen of Wands and the Queen of Cups. Queens connect to mothers. And if I get more than one queen in this reading, I often wonder if the person is doing something not just for themselves, but for their kids. If they feel that they're in a bad position and they want to, that their children are suffering as a result of their connection to this individual. And I also think it's very interesting that I got the Queen of Wands on the top and then the Queen of Cups right underneath it. Because I see the Queen of Wands as a working mother and the Queen of Cups as a stay-at-home mother. And that might be also on the agenda for some people. you may have been in a relationship where you felt that you had to be this tough cookie, especially if you were with a Knight of Swords individual who may have kind of not been sensitive to your needs. Virgo is a feminine sign. And yes, of course, Virgo women are very like much associated with work. You know, Virgo's associated with work, the 6th house. But there can be some of you that would rather be more of a traditional. Maybe that's what you've been wanting. And I wanted to say too, and that implies too that maybe you were with somebody who didn't want children, and you do. You may even be in your late 30s. Maybe you're in your 40s and you want to adopt, even if your eggs are dried up. I don't know. I mean, I was just walking around yesterday, and I heard this boy say, "Hi, Mom," and I looked, and the woman looked like she was in her 60s. So I think she probably adopted him or something. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of older people that are adopting children. So that's the Queen of Cups. The other thing that I think is interesting, because I did get as the final card, the Page of Swords, which is connected to a sense of vigilance, is that we have 2 cards here that are kind of psychic and aware intellectually, like intellectually on guard. And so there may be some other things going on too, that perhaps you know that somebody that you have been with is not who they claim to be. If that Knight, and I was just the sign Gemini popped out at me, and Gemini is another mutable sign like Sagittarius. So if that, if this Knight of Swords is a Gemini, I don't want to pick on Geminis, but they could lead double lives. Gemini is a sign of the twins. And that could be something that's going on too. Maybe they have a child with another woman, and you suspect it, but you couldn't put your finger on it. So I picked an additional card. This is about kind of doing some sleuthing, like Nancy Drew. Oh, I wish that train would go by. On the weekends, the trains are more like the freight trains, and they're real long, you know. The 3 of Pentacles is the card I picked as clarification. And just by virtue of the number 3, there could be some kind of third party involved, and it could be a coworker, because the 3 of Pentacles can connect to coworkers. I'm going to pick one more card. Let's see what it is. Well, the King of Swords could be even like a boss. So I don't know if somebody's cheating with their boss, but the King of Swords is also, again, with the Judgment card, this could be like a judge who has to make impartial decisions, and really kind of emphasizing taking things to court, legal decisions. The other thing too about the King of Swords is that you may have to, Virgo, kind of not take things personally. You're not an emotional sign in and of yourself as a Virgo. You're an earth sign. But you're a human being, and if something's going on, you're going to be affected. So the King of Swords is about, it's like in that book, The 4 Agreements, never take anything personally. Regardless of what you uncover, you cannot take that and assume that it says anything about you. If people are acting out, that's on them. Even if there's something that you're doing that they feel is wrong, that's fine. But they don't have the right to be deceptive. So if you're with somebody who is pretending to be something they're not, doing something along those lines. It's, you should never take it to heart what they've done. Put the ball back in their court. You may be actually going to court. And just, and this doesn't have to be with a marriage. This could be anybody that you're dealing with. I do think that there are some people that are deciding between an earth sign and a king, like a swords, an air sign. And it could be that you've met a Taurus person, and that person really feels like a rock. Maybe they've been a rock to you. That they've been a shoulder to cry on, or somebody that you can count on to make you feel better. And who knows, maybe you find out, hey, this person is really, we're compatible romantically. And I think I'd rather be with this person than that person. So, yeah, very interesting, but pretty specific, wouldn't you say, to certain scenarios. So if you'd like me to hone in on your particular dilemma, I think of Dr. Laura. I used to listen to Dr. Laura on the radio when she was still on, and the person would say, "Hi, Dr. Laura, my dilemma is," and I would always I'd always listen to those kind of shows, because maybe I was in training to do this kind of thing. So, Dr. Raina, hi, Dr. Raina. So please, and of course I'm not a doctor. Please click on the link below, and it'll take you to my webpage. Have a great month of November. Bye.